All right, so AI, it's everywhere, right? I mean, it feels like it's changing just about everything.
Yeah, that's right.
But uh, one place that I never really thought it would have such a big impact was politics.
Huh. Interesting.
And then I saw this episode of Trend Talk USA, that show that dives into, all the latest trends.
Oh, yeah, seen that.
Yeah, and this episode was all about how algorithms are starting to like infiltrate, the political landscape.
Really?
Yeah, and it really got me thinking about what that means for democracy.
Ah, yeah, that's a big one.
So we're going to do a deep dive today
Yeah.
into, all the stuff they talked about on the show. AI-powered campaign ads, deepfakes.
Oh, wow.
They even talked about the possibility of like AI politicians, which, I mean, just think about that for a second.
I mean, it's pretty wild to think about. Like, what does that even mean?
I know, right? So let's start with these AI-powered campaign ads, because that's what they started on the show.
Okay.
And basically what they were saying is that campaigns are now using AI to like micro-target voters.
Yeah.
So like they take all this data about, your online activity.
Yeah, like all that stuff that we do online.
Right, exactly. And then they use it to create these personalized ads.
Oh, I see.
So it's kind of like, how like when you're shopping online and then you start seeing ads for those same products everywhere you go?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like those shoes that I was looking at the other day. And now it's like every website I go to has an ad for those shoes.
It's exactly like that. Only instead of shoes, it's political messaging.
Oh, wow. So they're basically like tailoring the message just for you.
Yeah, and it's a little creepy if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit like Big Brother-ish, you know?
Yeah, and they actually gave this example on the show of like this one voter in a swing state.
Okay.
And they said this voter received over 200 customized political ads in a single day.
Whoa. That's insane.
I know, right? 200 ads.
Like, how could you even process that much information?
It's mind-boggling. And that really makes me wonder, like, at what point do voters just tune out?
Totally.
Or worse,
Yeah.
if they're just so overwhelmed that they end up just, like, clicking on whatever looks familiar without even, like, really thinking about it.
Is it even effective?
Right?
Yeah.
Like, are they even absorbing any of this information?
Yeah, and then there's the whole ethical question too, right? Like, is this really fair?
Yeah, I mean, are we manipulating people with this kind of targeted advertising?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of like questions about, data privacy and manipulation and, are we just deepening these political divides by like feeding people these really like tailored messages that just reinforce what they already believe?
Right, exactly. And it's like, is this just advanced marketing, or are we like heading towards some kind of dystopian
Yeah,
future?
that's slippery slope.
Okay, so that's AI-powered ads.
Yeah.
But then there's this whole other thing that they talked about on Trend Talk USA, which was deepfakes.
Deepfakes. Oh my gosh.
And they basically call them like a political weapon.
Yeah.
And they showed this example of this fake video of a politician being arrested.
Oh no.
And it like spread like wildfire online.
I actually think I saw that.
Yeah, and people were like freaking out,
Yeah.
because it looks so real.
It's so scary how real they can look now.
Right, and that's the thing about deepfakes is that they're using AI to create these like incredibly realistic but totally fabricated videos and audio recordings.
Yeah, like you can make anyone say or do anything.
Right, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to tell what's real and what's not.
It really is. And they said on Trend Talk USA that these deepfakes spread 6 times faster than real news.
6 times faster.
Which is insane. Like, how are we supposed to keep up with that?
I know, it seems like the social media platforms are really struggling to keep up.
Well, yeah, how can they possibly fact check everything that quickly?
Right, and I mean, think about the impact that this has on public discourse.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's eroding trust in the media.
Right, and like how can we have like any kind of meaningful conversation about politics when we can't even agree on what's real?
Exactly.
And then, there's the potential to like manipulate elections with these things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, imagine a deepfake coming out right before an election.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That could totally swing the vote.
It's terrifying. And then they took it even a step further on Trend Talk USA.
Oh, no. What else is there?
I know, right? So they started talking about AI politicians.
AI politicians. What does that even mean?
So basically like a candidate that is completely run by an algorithm.
Whoa, hold on. Like a robot running for office.
Well, not necessarily a robot, but like all of their decisions, their policies, their speeches, everything would be determined by AI.
That's pretty crazy.
I know, right? And they even came up with this name for this hypothetical AI candidate.
Oh,
He
really?
called him Candidate X.
Candidate X.
And they were talking about how Candidate X would have this, like, perfect record, you know?
Like no scandals, no
Yeah,
nothing.
exactly. And they would be able to analyze all this data and, like, make these perfectly logical decisions.
Sounds too good to be true.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But then, of course, they also brought up all the, like, potential problems.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds good in theory, but
Right, like, what about errors? You know, algorithms aren't perfect.
right, like who's accountable if something goes wrong?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, like, how do we even know that these algorithms are making decisions that are in the best interest of the people?
Yeah, and like what about human judgment?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you can't just quantify with data.
Right, exactly. Like, what about empathy and compassion?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not just some far-off future. They actually pointed out that Japan has already started experimenting with AI in political roles.
Really?
Yeah, like some cities in Japan have been using AI in administrative roles.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and they didn't really go into detail, but it definitely got me thinking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes you wonder, like, what would a political landscape with AI leaders even look like? Like, would they be more efficient, less prone to corruption?
I mean, maybe.
Or would we be, like, trading one set of problems for another? What if these algorithms have, like, unforeseen biases built into them?
Right, exactly. And who's going to be responsible for programming these algorithms in the first place?
Yeah,
It's a lot to think about.
it is.
So I don't know. This whole deep dive has really opened my eyes to how AI is changing the game in politics.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a whole new world.
And it's both exciting and a little terrifying.
Yeah.
There's so much potential, but also a lot of risks.
Yeah, and I think the key is to, like, be aware of these risks and to start having these conversations now.
Right, because it's not going away.
Exactly. It's only going to become more prevalent.
So, yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. And as you're, evaluating candidates and their messages, just keep in mind that AI might be shaping what you're seeing and hearing.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. So it's more important than ever to be informed and to critically evaluate the information that comes your way. Do your research, check your sources,
Right.
because it's getting harder and harder to tell what's real.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just stay vigilant.
Good advice. All right, well, that's our deep dive for today.
Great talking to you.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so that was a lot to process, but here's something to think about. We talked about how AI could potentially make politicians more efficient, less prone to corruption. But what if we took it a step further? What if instead of just assisting politicians, AI could actually help us to create a more direct form of democracy? Like, what if we could use AI to facilitate large-scale citizen assemblies or to create systems of direct voting on every issue? I mean, is that the future of democracy? Or is it just a recipe for chaos? I don't know, but it's definitely something to ponder.